Welcome to the deep dive. We're starting something pretty monumental today.
Mm.
If you're one of the millions who has devoured this story, 100 times, you know the brilliance isn't just in the big plot points, it's in the microscopic detail.
Oh, absolutely. It's the little nuggets of character and world building that are just hidden in plain sight.
And that's what we're here to do. We're
Yeah.
going to excavate all of those details.
Exactly. I mean, we're not here to just summarize a story that, let's be honest, everyone already knows by heart.
Right.
We're taking this on as like a deep analytical study of the source material. We're going chapter by chapter and treating the text itself as this rich, almost historical document.
And we're starting at the absolute beginning.
Yeah.
The foundation of this whole universe. Chapter 1 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The Boy Who Lived.
This is it. This is the literary DNA.
It really is. It's where all the big conflicts, the social structures, even the statute of secrecy is hinted at. The core character flaws are all laid out, sometimes in just a single sentence. And for those of you joining us on page 9 3/4, this is the first step in a big commitment we're making. We're going to cover all 7 books, chapter by chapter, in this kind of depth.
The mission here is really to transform that familiarity you have with the text, that comfort, into a really profound understanding of its architecture, both literary and magical.
We want to spend time on the parts that are usually rushed in adaptations, or even just in reading. We want to focus on the why of it all.
Not just the what.
Exactly. And since this is the first one, the very beginning of this format, we absolutely need your feedback. Please tell us what you think. Tell us if there's some thematic connection or a detail in chapter 1 that maybe we missed.
We're ready to jump in, starting with probably the most aggressively normal place on Earth.
Okay, let's just unpack this opening. The very first sentence is like a declaration of war against anything magical.
It is.
Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4, Privet Drive, were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much.
It's the thank you very much that just says everything, doesn't it?
It's so defensive.
It's an ideological shield. The source material frames this perfectly. It says they were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious. And why? Because they just didn't hold with such nonsense.
So their normalcy isn't just a state of being, it's a doctrine. It's this rigid, aggressively maintained rejection of anything unknown.
Anything that requires imagination.
Yeah.
And we get an immediate, really detailed look at the architects of this worldview, starting with Vernon Dursley.
Director of Grunnings, a firm that makes drills.
Drills.
Why drills? This feels so intentional, such a symbolic choice for his industry.
It's the perfect choice. It's the ultimate symbol of focused, destructive mundanity. Drills are for boring through things, creating rigid holes, imposing structure onto chaos.
Right. Rock, concrete, whatever.
It speaks to his entire approach to life. He doesn't want to navigate or understand the world. He just wants to force his way through it.
And the text gives us a physical description that matches that perfectly. A big, beefy man with hardly any neck. But he does have a very large mustache.
And that lack of a neck, that's a fascinating physical detail. It suggests a pretty fundamental psychological barrier. A neck gives you flexibility, right?
It lets you look around.
Lets you look backward, to the side, to see peripherally. Vernon Dursley, without a proper neck, is physically built for rigidity, for tunnel vision. He can't look sideways at strangeness without, physically straining himself.
And the mustache.
Just another big, fleshy symbol of his hypermasculine, fixed sense of self.
So if Vernon is the rigid force, Petunia is the surveillance system.
Exactly.
She's thin, blonde, but the key detail is she has nearly twice the usual amount of neck.
And the text flat out tells you why. It came in very useful as she spent so much of her time craning over garden fences, spying on the neighbors.
So their marriage is this perfect little system of control.
It is. Vernon ignores everything beyond his walls and his drills, while Petunia is just optimized for controlling their immediate local environment. She is the neighborhood security camera, always monitoring for any breach of the Dursley doctrine.
And their son, Dudley, he completes this picture of, contained tyranny. They think he's the no finer boy anywhere, but the chapter immediately shows you what that actually looks like. On this dull gray Tuesday, what's he doing?
He's having a tantrum, screaming, throwing his cereal at the walls.
Which establishes that the Dursley definition of perfectly normal is totally fine with destructive behavior as long as it's from their own child and it stays inside number 4.
And Vernon just chortled and called him a little tyke. This isn't discipline, it's just indulging selfish entitlement. And Dudley's already learned the most important word in his vocabulary,
What?
the ultimate rejection of any outside instruction.
And this leads us straight to the core anxiety of their entire existence. The great secret. The reveal that Mrs. Potter, Lily, is Petunia's sister. And Petunia pretended she didn't have a sister.
This isn't just, a family squabble. It's an ideological schism. It defines their whole adult life. The source material says the Potters were as un-Dursley-ish as it was possible to be.
So it's not just a disagreement over lifestyle. It's a profound disgust for their very nature.
The strangeness, the mystery, the things Petunia sees as a threat to her precious, precious order.
And the immediate fear isn't even about Lily and James, who they haven't seen in years. It's about the child, Harry. Their explicit fear is twofold.
1, being discovered by the neighbors.
And 2, keeping their finer boy, Dudley, from mixing with a child like that.
Just think about the depth of that fear. It's not just social embarrassment. It's a terror of ideological contamination. They're planting the seeds of neglect and prejudice right here, long before Harry even shows up.
Their day starts by reinforcing their own ordinariness. Vernon picks his most boring tie, he's humming, Petunia's gossiping.
It's a fragile construct.
A construct so fragile, it's already failing, even though they don't see it. The final, silent detail of that morning routine. None of them noticed a large, tawny owl flutter past the window.
That sentence is just brilliant foreshadowing. Because while they're locked in their own little routines, the tie, the cereal, the outside world is already being visibly compromised by magic.
Their failure to notice that owl is the first sign of their fatal flaw. They're literally unable to perceive a truth that deviates from their accepted reality.
And this is the moment their private-controlled little world begins its spectacular collapse.
So Mr. Dursley heads off to Grunning's. His mind is on a big order of drills. And this is when the universe just starts actively breaking his reality. The first peculiar sign he actually processes, even though he rejects it, is just the most absurdly British kind of strange.
The tabby cat reading a map on the corner of the street. It's the perfect mix of mundane and surreal.
It's not a flash of light or a wizard. It's a perfectly ordinary cat doing an impossibly intellectual thing. Vernon sees it, jolts his head, and the map's gone.
And his immediate internal reaction is just textbook denial. It must have been a trick of the light. He forces himself to put the cat out of his mind.
But the cat doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It becomes this persistent, focused, intelligently unsettling part of his drive.
Yes. As he keeps going, he sees it in his rearview mirror. It's sitting on his garden wall, and it seems to be reading the street sign for Privet Drive.
This is where the cat, who we find out later is Professor McGonagall, starts her active psychological warfare against Vernon.
He has to consciously narrate his own correction, right? No, looking at the sign, cats couldn't read maps or signs. He's fighting this internal battle against the evidence of his own eyes.
And the cat isn't just strange, it's observant, it's judgmental. It gives him a stern look.
Yeah.
So we move from this localized oddity to a national phenomenon. The sheer number of strangely dressed people, or as the outline says, the cloaked people phenomenon.
He's sitting in traffic, and he realizes there are way too many of these weirdos for it to be just some local stunt.
And his aversion is pure Dursleyism. He couldn't bear people who dressed in funny clothes. His first attempts to explain it are all based on his fixed mindset.
It must be a stupid new fashion, or they're collecting for charity.
But his outrage gets worse when he sees that some of these weirdos are older than he is, wearing emerald green cloaks.
That age detail is so important. It suggests a complete breakdown of the social order he understands. An older man should be in a suit, focusing on drills, not flouting the Dursley doctrine.
When the fact that they're all whispering excitedly, high-fiving, it makes him uneasy because their behavior suggests a secret knowledge, a shared celebration that he is completely excluded from.
Which is intolerable for a man like him.
Right. And meanwhile, the scale of this magical celebration is completely missed by him.
Yes, the source notes his office is on the 9th floor, and crucially, he sits with his back to the window.
A deliberate choice.
Absolutely. Because of this deliberate orientation away from external reality, he misses the most spectacular sight of the morning, hundreds of owls swooping past in broad daylight.
And the narrative points out that people on the street did notice, pointing, gazing, open-mouthed. But Vernon Dursley, the personification of denial, he manages to have a perfectly normal, owl-free morning.
Because he has physically and psychologically ensured that he cannot see the truth, He spends the morning achieving peak normalcy,
Yelling at 5 different people.
making important calls about drills. He maintains his normal life through sheer willful blindness until the universe forces the truth into his ear at lunchtime.
The whispers of dread. He walks to the baker's, passes a group of these cloaked people again, still whispering excitedly, and he notices, ominously, he can't see a single collecting tin.
So his little hypothesis about the charity collection is failing. It's being replaced by just cold apprehension.
And as he's clutching his perfectly normal donut, walking back, he catches the words that shatter everything. The Potters, that's right, that's what I heard.
Followed immediately by, yes, their son, Harry.
He stops dead. Fear, just cold and visceral, floods him. His reaction is pure panic. He runs back to his office, snaps at his secretary, grabs the phone.
And he's about to break his own decades-long rule. He's about to call Petunia about her sister.
But he doesn't. This is that critical moment of denial and self-deception.
Puts the receiver down.
He starts stroking that enormous mustache and tries to convince himself Potter isn't an unusual name.
But then that horrifying moment of realization hits him. The realization of his own deliberate ignorance.
He genuinely can't remember his own nephew's name. He's trying to recall it, thinking it might have been Harvey or Harold.
The fact that he isn't even sure of the name just shows how successful the Dursleys were at erasing the Potters from their lives. Complete erasure, only for the name to come roaring back in the middle of this national spectacle.
He concludes there's no point in worrying Mrs. Dursley, and, he doesn't blame her for getting upset.
But the internal tension is now so immense that the text notes he found it a lot harder to concentrate on drills that afternoon. The normal world is collapsing, and the collapse is rooted in the secret he tried to drill out of existence.
So Mr. Dursley leaves work late, still worried, and the magical world physically intrudes on him again. And this time, it's unavoidable.
Physical contact. He walks straight into a tiny old man in a violet cloak.
And this is the first overt, celebratory magical interaction that is directed squarely at a Muggle. Mr. Dursley grunts, sorry. But the old man, far from being angry, is ecstatic. His face splits into this huge smile, and he says the thing that should trigger every alarm in Vernon's brain.
Rejoice, for you know who has gone at last. Even Muggles like yourself should be celebrating this happy, happy day.
The moment he hears Muggles, which he doesn't understand but knows is somehow alienating, his reality is just compromised. And then the physical violation.
The hug. The old man hugs Mr. Dursley around the middle. Vernon Dursley, the man of absolute order, has been hugged by a stranger in purple.
He is completely rattled. He stands rooted to the spot and then hurries home, desperate to believe he's imagining things.
And that's the great irony of Vernon Dursley. He had never hoped before because he didn't approve of imagination. He's now basically praying for the existence of the very thing he despises, fantasy, if only to negate the reality of what he just experienced.
He pulls into Privet Drive, and what is waiting for him? The final, silent judgment.
The cat. The same tabby cat from the morning is sitting on his garden wall, staring down the street, giving him another stern look.
He tries the one thing he knows, a disciplinary command. Shoo.
But the cat is completely unmoved. It's an immovable magical object, a sentinel silently anchoring the un-Dursleyish world right in the heart of Privet Drive. He knows deep down that all this is connected.
But he forces himself to ignore it and retreats into the house.
And the normalcy continues inside for a little bit, a tense interlude. Petunia has had her nice normal day.
Gossiping, Dudley learning won't.
Right. And Vernon tries to act normal through dinner, but the outside world is about to broadcast the truth directly into his living room through the television.
The evening news report. It's the national official confirmation of his paranoia. The news anchors, the voices of Muggle authority, are baffled. First, the owls.
Bird watchers reported the nation's owls behaving very unusually, flying in every direction since sunrise. And the experts are unable to explain the change in their sleeping pattern. It's a national systemic failure of the natural order.
And then the weather takes a spectacular, magical turn. Viewers across Britain, Kent, Yorkshire, Dundee reporting a downpour of shooting stars instead of rain.
And the newscaster tries to normalize it, suggesting maybe it's early bonfire night celebrations, a desperate attempt to explain chaos with a cultural event.
Vernon Dursley is just frozen in his armchair. Shooting stars, owls, cloaked people, and a whisper about the Potters. The pressure is too much. He has to share it.
He tries to breach the subject with Petunia, clears his throat nervously, asks if she's heard from her sister, and her reaction confirms the emotional pain of the secret.
Shocked and angry. He is breaking protocol.
He uses the news as his cover, mumbling about the owls and funny-looking people, but Petunia just snaps, "So, he needs to connect the dots without saying the names."
He uses the language of disdain.
Well, I just thought, maybe. It was something to do with, you know, her crowd.
Her crowd, it maintains that distance, that disgust. Petunia sips her tea, just rigid. But Dursley needs the final confirmation.
He asks casually about the nephew, their son. He'd be about Dudley's age now, wouldn't he? And then that fake guess, revealing his whole effort at erasure. What's his name again? Howard, isn't it?
And Petunia delivers the final blow that confirms all of Vernon's worst fears. She snaps, "Harry. Nasty common name if you ask me."
And that one answer links everything. The cloaks, the owls, the shooting stars, the mystery, it's all linked to the family he spent decades pretending doesn't exist.
The chaos is now linked by blood to number 4, Privet Drive. His heart just sinks. He agrees the name is nasty and they go upstairs. But he can't sleep. While Petunia's in the bathroom, he creeps to the window for one last check.
And the cat's vigil is still ongoing. The cat is still there, staring down Privet Drive, waiting. He falls asleep with one final, desperate, failed, comforting thought.
It couldn't affect them.
And the chapter ends that section with that devastatingly simple line. How very wrong he was. The normalcy has been crushed. The Dursleys are asleep, totally unaware that the instruments of the world they so violently reject are assembling on their street corner. And now the focus shifts entirely. It goes to the magical world. The cat, our vigilant Professor McGonagall, is still on watch. And around midnight, the first major magical figure arrives.
The cat's tail twitches, its eyes narrow as a man appeared on the corner the cat had been watching, appeared so suddenly and silently you'd have thought he'd just popped out of the ground.
This arrival is just instant world building. Albus Dumbledore is the complete radical opposite of Vernon Dursley.
Yeah, Dursley's confined by his suit, his rigidity, his drills. Dumbledore is tall, thin, very old, silver hair, and a beard so long he can tuck it into his belt.
And his clothes are deliberately over the top, almost mocking the Muggle idea of respectability. Long flowing robes, a purple cloak that sweeps the ground, high-heeled, buckled boots.
And the little details are essential. The half-moon spectacles, the long, crooked nose, as though it had been broken at least twice. Everything about him just screams curiosity, ancient power, and total disregard for Muggle rules.
The contrast is just palpable. Dumbledore doesn't arrive in a car. He simply is. And he realizes he's being watched, looks at the cat, and is immediately amused.
He chuckles and mutters, "I should have known." This immediate acknowledgement of the cat's intelligence confirms everything before the transformation even happens.
And what he pulls from his pocket is so critical to understanding how the magical world operates in secret. The put-outer. The text describes it as a silver cigarette lighter.
A familiar Muggle object, but it's been repurposed for supreme magical control.
And its function is shown immediately. It establishes Dumbledore's power over the Muggle infrastructure. He clicks it open, holds it up.
It clicks it 12 times.
The source is so meticulous with that number. 12 times he clicked the put-outer until every single street lamp on Privet Drive is out. This is the magical world just instantly overriding Muggle reality.
12. It feels significant, like the hours on a clock face. Maybe symbolizing his mastery over time or the conventional world.
The purpose is absolute darkness, to make sure that even Petunia Dursley, the neighborhood sentinel, couldn't see what was about to happen.
And the only lights left are the 2 tiny pinpricks in the distance.
Yeah.
The eyes of the cat. It's a spectacular visual. The cat, the embodiment of magical vigilance, is the only point of light left.
He goes to number 4, sits down on the wall next to the cat, and then the casual, immediate reveal. "Fancy seeing you here, Professor McGonagall."
The transformation is sudden, definitive. The cat is gone, replaced by a rather severe-looking woman.
Emerald cloak, square glasses that match the markings the cat had around its eyes. Her black hair is in a tight bun, and she is clearly ruffled, worried, very much the opposite of Dumbledore's whimsical calm.
Their conversation immediately gives us insight into their professional relationship. She asks how he knew it was her, and Dumbledore gives that wry answer.
"My dear Professor, I've never seen a cat sit so stiffly." He knows her personality translates even to her animal form, her severity, her rigidity, their constants.
And she confirms her dedication. She's been sitting there all day watching Vernon Dursley's antics.
Dumbledore teases her about missing the celebrations, which leads us straight into the core conflict of this section, magical security and the statute of secrecy.
McGonagall is highly agitated. She confirms everyone's celebrating, but she's just exasperated by the carelessness. People are being downright careless, she insists.
And this is the first practical mention of the Statute of Secrecy. The law that dictates the wizarding world has to stay hidden from muggles. She is furious that wizards are out in broad daylight, not wearing muggle clothes, swapping rumors.
She gives Dumbledore a sharp glance, like even he might be complicit. And she confirms the muggles noticed. The owls, the shooting stars. She even names the likely culprit for the shooting stars.
Daedalus Diggle. He never had much sense, she says.
This exchange reveals a real philosophical divide. McGonagall represents adherence to the law, caution. She sees the real danger of muggle discovery.
And Dumbledore, he's calm. He contextualizes the carelessness. We've had precious little to celebrate for 11 years. That one line immediately dates the entire conflict and defines the long, dark reign that just ended.
But McGonagall insists that's no reason to lose their heads, especially on the day you-know-who seems to have disappeared at last. So this section delivers all the necessary exposition. It turns the rumors Vernon heard into this catastrophic truth. But first, it addresses the powerful, almost religious fear surrounding their enemy.
Dumbledore offers McGonagall a lemon drop, which he calls a muggle sweet he's fond of. It's a little detail, but it emphasizes his unique comfort in both worlds.
She refuses, and he pivots to the most significant linguistic power struggle in the chapter.
He presses her. My dear professor, surely a sensible person like yourself can call him by his name. He says he's been trying for 11 years to get people to call him by his proper name. Voldemort.
And his logic is, it all gets so confusing if we keep saying you-know-who. He sees no reason to be frightened of the name.
This is a profound moment. It's about the psychology of fear. Dumbledore is articulating a core philosophy. Allowing a name to be taboo gives the entity behind that name so much more power.
The fear of saying Voldemort is part of Voldemort's control over the whole community.
And McGonagall's reaction proves it. She flinches when Dumbledore says the name. Even a witch of her strength is subject to that conditioned fear.
But she immediately shifts to admiration, saying that Dumbledore is different. Everyone knows he was the only one Voldemort feared.
And Dumbledore responds with such humility. You flatter me. He admits Voldemort had powers he'll never have.
To which McGonagall counters with this crucial thematic point. Only because you're too well noble to use them.
This exchange is so vital for establishing Dumbledore's character and really the moral framework of the whole series. His power isn't defined by raw destructive ability. It's defined by self-imposed moral restraint. Nobility.
He uses humor to deflect, of course, saying he hasn't blushed so much since Madame Pomfrey complimented his earmuffs.
Classic Dumbledore. But McGonagall gets right to the heart of it, the truth behind the rumors. About why he's disappeared, about what finally stopped him.
And this is the moment. The revelation, the tragedy. Dumbledore bows his head as McGonagall relays the horrific news. Voldemort went to Godric's Hollow to find the Potters. Lily and James Potter are confirmed dead.
Dumbledore confirms the loss. But the tragedy leads right into the impossibility that has just baffled the entire magical world. McGonagall continues, trembling, that they're saying Voldemort tried to kill their son, Harry, but he couldn't.
And the core mystery of the entire 7-book series is introduced right here. No one knows why or how, but they're saying that when he couldn't kill Harry Potter, Voldemort's power somehow broke, and that's why he's gone.
That single line implies this incredibly complex and powerful magical failure. Voldemort's power, the dark magic that killed hundreds, was somehow neutralized by trying to kill a baby.
McGonagall is astounded. She asks Dumbledore how Harry survived, and Dumbledore admits they can only guess, that we may never know.
That acknowledgement of a power, a protective, sacrificial love that's beyond even Dumbledore's understanding, is the emotional and analytical climax of this chapter.
Before they move on, Dumbledore checks his watch. And the source gives us one of the most intriguing symbolic details about Dumbledore himself.
His watch is very odd. It has 12 hands, but no numbers. Instead, little planets were moving around the edge.
That is a massive clue about his worldview. It suggests his perspective isn't tied to the linear, mundane passage of time, the numbers Vernon Dursley lives by, but to celestial, cosmological forces.
His timing is governed by the movements of stars and planets, not by human schedules. It speaks volumes about why he's so accepting of all the strangeness unfolding.
He notes that Hagrid is late, which confirms Hagrid was the one entrusted with retrieving Harry. The stage is set for the handover, and Dumbledore is about to make his most controversial decision.
McGonagall asks Dumbledore the crucial question. Why here? Why Privet Drive? And Dumbledore confirms his purpose. I've come to bring Harry to his aunt and uncle. They're the only family he has left now.
And this immediately triggers McGonagall's fierce protest. She jumps up, points at number 4, and cries, "Dumbledore, you can't."
She argues that she's been watching them all day. They are nothing like us. She's using her first-hand observation as proof of their unsuitability.
And she gives a visceral anecdote. She saw Dudley kicking his mother and screaming for sweets. She sees their toxic entitlement, their lack of any warmth.
She's arguing that these are ideologues who actively reject the world Harry represents, and therefore they are the worst possible guardians for him.
She also instantly gets Harry's fame. She foresees him being famous, a legend, predicts books will be written, that this day will be known as Harry Potter Day. She understands his historical significance.
She thinks he belongs in the magical world where he'd be cherished.
But Dumbledore uses that exact prediction as his defense of the decision. He looks over his half-moon glasses and insists it is the best place for him.
And this is the core moral tension of the entire series. Dumbledore's reason is that Harry has to grow up away from the spotlight until he's ready.
His goal is benevolent. He wants to avoid Harry's head being turned by being famous before he can walk and talk. Famous for something he won't even remember.
Okay, but let's challenge Dumbledore here. McGonagall's observation confirms the Dursleys are psychologically abusive, defined by a proud ignorance. How does isolation and ideological abuse prevent his head from being turned?
That's a great question.
Doesn't it just ensure he experiences deep neglect and resentment for a world he doesn't even know exists? He's choosing a life of painful ignorance over a life of potentially damaging adoration.
It's the tragic irony, isn't it? He's using the Dursleys as a kind of quarantine. The isolation and the letter, which Dumbledore has written to explain everything later, are his calculated means of preventing the boy from being spoiled. But it's a terrible price to pay.
McGonagall is silenced, if not really persuaded. She asks how the boy is getting there, and Dumbledore confirms Hagrid's bringing him.
And despite her skepticism about trusting Hagrid with something so important, Dumbledore's reply is absolute. I would trust Hagrid with my life.
Which confirms the deep, unwavering faith he places in those he loves, even if they're clumsy or a little careless.
And the carelessness is confirmed when a low, rumbling sound turns into a roar as a huge motorcycle fell out of the air. Hagrid's dramatic arrival.
The description of Hagrid is just stunningly huge. Again, that radical contrast with the small, tidy world of Privet Drive. Almost twice as tall as a normal man, 5 times as wide, vast, muscular arms.
Hands the size of trash can lids. Feet in his boots are like baby dolphins. And he's holding a bundle of blankets.
He confirms the motorcycle was borrowed from young Sirius Black and reports on the extraction. The house in Godric's Hollow was almost destroyed, but he got Harry out before Muggles started swarming.
Which confirms how severe the attack was and justifies McGonagall's concerns about the breach of secrecy.
Dumbledore and McGonagall lean over the bundle for the final glimpse of Harry. He's fast asleep, and under a tuft of jet black hair, they see the scar, a curiously shaped cut, like a bolt of lightning.
This is it. The definitive brand of his impossible survival. McGonagall immediately asks if Dumbledore can remove it, sensing the dark magic.
Dumbledore confirms it's forever, but then delivers that famous line, "Scars can come in handy."
And he immediately gives a highly personal, mundane, and eccentric example of his own scar, a perfect map of the London Underground above his left knee.
That detail, a literal map of the Muggle world on his body, is crucial. It suggests Dumbledore is intimately familiar with, maybe even fond of, the Muggle world. He sees his own scars as marks of experience and identity, not blemishes to be erased.
Before the final act, Hagrid asks for an emotional goodbye. He bends his great shaggy head over Harry and gives him what must have been a very scratchy, whiskery kiss.
And his grief just overcomes him. He lets out a howl like a wounded dog.
McGonagall, despite her own emotion, instantly shushes him, worried about waking the Muggles. Even in their grief, the statute of secrecy is paramount.
Hagrid, sobbing into a handkerchief, just articulates the collective grief and worry. Lily and James dead and poor little Harry off to live with Muggles.
Dumbledore, though equally affected, the twinkling light that usually shone from Dumbledore's eyes seemed to have gone out. He does the difficult task. He carries Harry over the wall, lays him gently on the doorstep of number 4, and tucks his letter inside the blankets.
The immense emotional weight of this moment is emphasized. The trio stands for a full minute in silence, acknowledging the sacrifice and Harry's uncertain future. Hagrid's shoulders shake. McGonagall blinks furiously. The mission is done. The delegation has to vanish.
Hagrid leaves first, on the borrowed motorcycle. Dumbledore restores the lights with a put-outer, clicking it once. So 12 balls of light sped
Right.
back to their street lamps. He sees the cat slinking away down the street.
And his final action, this quiet, protective gesture toward the baby on the doorstep, it encapsulates all his hope for the boy. "Good luck, Harry," he murmurs, and with a swish of his cloak, he's gone.
The chapter ends focusing on Harry, sleeping soundly in this neat, tidy street, the last place you'd ever expect astonishing things to happen. He is unaware he's special, unaware he's famous.
And unaware of the immediate harsh reality that's coming. He'll be woken by Mrs. Dursley's scream when she puts out the milk bottles. He'll be prodded and pinched by Dudley.
But that final sentence reminds us of the wider world, the one the Dursleys tried so hard to deny. People meeting in secret all over the country, holding up their glasses and saying in hushed voices,
To Harry Potter, the boy who lived. What this single chapter accomplishes is just a narrative masterclass. It's the perfect collision. It sets up this system where the aggressively normal world Vernon's drills, Petunia's denial, is immediately and violently crushed by the reality of powerful magic and profound tragedy.
every single detail feels intentional. From the tabby cat reading a street sign to the 12 clicks of the put-outer that just negates all Muggle infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's world building that establishes the rules of engagement.
And the Dursleys are forced into the center of this magical story through their own blood connection, despite decades of trying to avoid it. It ensures Harry's life starts rooted in hypocrisy and denial.
And critically, it positions Harry as an orphan, a legend, and a hero famous for an act of survival he can't even remember.
Right, that lightning scar isn't just a visible brand of survival, it's a constant physical reminder of the darkest magic's failure against a power it just could not comprehend.
So this is the final thought we want to leave you with, because it's the shadow that falls over the entire series. Dumbledore's rationale for leaving Harry with the Dursleys was to prevent fame from ruining him, to shield him.
But he chose a family defined by their proud and violent rejection of anything non-normal. If the goal was to cultivate humility and, groundedness, why choose a place that guarantees neglect, coldness, and profound ideological rejection?
Was Dumbledore prioritizing the safety of secrecy over the developmental needs of the child?
It's a tension that runs through the entire saga, starting right here, on the damp doorstep of number 4, Privet Drive.
This has been our deep dive into the very first chapter. We're committed to continuing this analysis for every chapter across all 7 books, giving you the ultimate detailed shortcut to being profoundly well-informed about this incredible source material.
And we really want to hear your thoughts on this format. As we continue this journey on page 9 3/4, let us know what you thought of this analytical depth. Did we miss any crucial connections in chapter 1?
What are your biggest questions about the symbolism of Vernon's drills, or Dumbledore's specific choice of the Dursleys? Let us know in the comments.
We'll see you for chapter 2, where we dive headlong into the dismal life Harry Potter was forced to live.
Until then, stay curious.